Hi there, and welcome to episode 112, where I chat with Ayurvedic Dr. Sujatha from the Amrita City Ayurvedic Clinic in Bali, all about the digestive system. We're going to give you lots of tips and guidelines of how to keep your digestive system working efficiently so you can prevent any toxin buildup that can lead to disease. So please stay tuned. Hello and welcome to Elements of Ayurveda, Empowering Wisdom of Life. I'm your host, Colette, and in this podcast, I hope to empower you to take charge of your own health by sharing the holistic teachings of Ayurveda, the ancient healing tradition from India. We will also discuss topics like health and wellness, nutrition, yoga, fitness, meditation, breath work, and much more, as well as interviewing lots of inspiring people along the way. My humble wish is to help you to connect to your true nature, to Mother Nature, and to each other. If you like the content, be sure to subscribe to the show, and the new episodes will automatically download for you to enjoy. If you're new to Ayurveda, I recommend you listen to the first couple of episodes where I do an introduction to Ayurveda and the mind-body types. I've also set up a Facebook group for us to connect and to support each other, and I'd love for you to join me over at Elements of Ayurveda podcast group. And now, here's the show. Hello and welcome to Elements of Ayurveda. I'm very happy to welcome back Dr. Sujatha, who is lead physician and co-founder of the Amrita City Ayurvedic Clinic in Ubud, Bali. And Dr. Sujatha was actually my doctor or mentor when I arrived in Bali for my first Panchakarma, and I told that story way back in episode number 5 under the title Ayurveda and Healing in Bali. But today we're going to discuss digestive health. And this is a huge topic in Ayurveda, right? Dr. Sujatha, hello and welcome to the show.
Hi, Colette. Very happy to be back with you and having some talk on any topic on Ayurveda. And today happened to be the digestive system. I'm happy to be here. Yes, We're going to talk about the digestive system today.
Yeah. So it's of paramount importance in Ayurveda. But let's start, Dr. Sujatha, for people who are a little bit confused, because these words are thrown around right now. You know, modern research is showing the importance of our digestive system. And I think people may get a little bit confused. Like, what is the digestive system? What is the microbiome? And so on. So could you give us a little summary of what the digestive system is, please, to start?
Basically, digestive system is a group of organs which work together in harmony in processing the food that we eat. And here the processing means breaking down into the smaller particle and then absorbing it and eliminating what's not needed and what's not absorbed by our system into the bloodstream. So this is the whole process. But I do understand most of the time people talk or use the word to say, oh, I have a good digestive system or my digestive system is bad. They're only meaning to the word that elimination. If they have several times go to the bathroom, they think, okay, their digestive system is working very fast and it's working a lot and it's very good. Or if it's not eliminating bowel movements, then they have the worry saying, okay, my digestive system is not working. But that's only one part of it. So the whole process of the digestion means, or your digestive system working means your digestive enzymes starting from your saliva, they're secreting well on time, and giving the sensation of hunger, giving the sensation of satisfaction, and having no discomfort while you're digesting the food. And then as a result of that proper digestion, the nutrients getting absorbed and elimination. So that's the final stage of it. So this whole thing goes through in your digestive system, starting from your oral cavity until the end. That's our anal orifice.
Exactly. So the digestive system includes anything from any organ involved, from the mouth to the anus.
Yes, that's a simple definition. But in Ayurveda, our digestive system or the digestion goes beyond that, so which we can talk go through. Yes,
we're going to get into this now. So I guess our next step is, why is the digestive system and our digestive health so important in Ayurveda, and why is there such an emphasis put on it in Ayurvedic medicine?
Other than air and water, the next thing that human body needs is food. So we could survive for a certain period of the time without water, without food, but air is very essential. So food being, like I would say, we are all the result of the food. Food plays a major role in creating our body. Starting from a single-celled unit as a sperm and ovum and becoming a zygote. From there, for it to grow in our mother's womb, the nutrition that comes through the placenta, through the umbilical cord, and that's what makes the process of life. The cells multiply. So we are the result of the food, and we cannot forget that and ignore the food intake and intake is one thing, but how we process is the next thing that we need to give utmost importance to that. So I would say health stems from your digestive system working well. So one main criteria, not only, but it's very important because we eat food every day, and that need to be processed well in a way that your body can absorb and use it. So that's why Ayurveda gives a big stress on digestive system, and particularly talking about the concept of Agni. That's your ability to digest the food. So that's the concept of the Agni. So that's something very important in Ayurveda. So you might have your digestive system organs are healthy, but if your Agni, that means the capacity of your digestive organ to produce the right enzymes, the bile juice, the pancreatic enzymes, the right amount of the mucus, if that's not working well, you might be eating healthy, organic, superfood, all the best food in the world that you can get your hands on, but you may not get the best result what those foods supposed to give you.
Right. And so our Agni being our digestive fire. So there's several Agnis in the body, correct? And the main one is Jathara Agni.
Yeah, the Jatragni, what you mentioned, this is a digestion process that takes place in your gastrointestinal tract, which is starting from the oral cavity to the anal orifice. But the food, when it leaves our digestive tract, it gets carried by the portal vein, goes into the liver. And again, the food need to further go transformation process in the liver, getting it digested into the finer form. And that function in Ayurveda we call Bhutagni. This Bhutagni relates to the 5 elements that your body and the concept of the dosha, that's how it come to existence. And in the liver enzymes, the mechanism of the liver converts the food particle into the way that it can be easily used and identified and processed by different tissues. And from the liver, the food further carries into your heart, and from the heart it goes into your lungs, get oxygenated, comes back into the left side of your heart, and then the total process of dispatching these nutrients to your cells or the tissues takes place. And when the nutrient reaches the cell, again, there is a kind of Agni, which generally spoken as like a cellular metabolism. And that in Ayurveda we call the 7 different kinds of the Dhatu Agni, which is referring to the 7 different tissue enzymes that enables to receive the food, the selective mechanism through which the cells receives the food and processes. And that's the final stage where we see the nutrient being used or turned into energy to repair cells and revitalize and maintain the harmonious state of healthy tissues. So that's where the ability of the Dhatu Agni comes into existence.
Right. And so this is why when you're saying that it's so important, what we're putting into our body is actually becoming our cells and tissues. And when it's broken down, it's made into this like 5 elemental juice, right? It contains all the elements. That's rasa.
Absolutely.
Right. And I've talked about this in other podcasts. So if you're not familiar with what we're talking about, I'm going to link it in the show notes. And then I talked before too about how it goes through a refining process where each dhatu takes what it needs, and then it goes all the way down to ojas being the final one, right?
Yeah, so it's called the selective process. Like each every cells has the intelligence, which we call the tejas. Tejas is the essence of pitta, which is an ability to select the right nutrients needed for that particular cell or the tissue. That's the intelligence of the tissue, the cellular intelligence, which something you can define it as your DNA, or where the genes know what nutrient need to go in to make what kind of tissue or repair what kind of tissue in the body. And through the help of that, the nutrients are getting absorbed into the tissues, and then that processes, and that's what we experience primarily as energy, and then the replenishment of new tissues.
Exactly. So to emphasize again for people listening is that this is how important it is for you to make sure that you're taking in nourishing food, and then of course to make sure that your digestive system is working properly, which we're going to talk about, because all the way along this process, this selective process that Dr. Sujatha is referring to, every tissue is taking what it needs. So if we don't have good quality rasa dhatu, or the food we're taking in is not good quality, we're not going to have good quality tissues.
Absolutely. And if your digestive system is not working well, you might give the best food you can,
right,
but it's not going to be processed in a way that when it can be absorbed into your bloodstream and into the liver. So liver would get a food which is not digested into the finest form. So it puts a burden on the liver, because liver kind of says, oh, this is not finely formed. It's not fine enough. So
right,
I can't process it.
Right.
So that the liver congestion start to happen. Right. And the liver inflammation can come because of that's one of the cause. And then further, when the liver is unable to process the food, it's like it gets a wrong delivery. So it gets a wrong delivery that the liver cannot use it for anything. And that's where the concept of ama comes. Right. So where the food is not digested and not used by the liver, and then it's a congestion for the liver, and the liver says, okay, so this is in not the right form, I'll do my best, and then the liver gets sluggish and heavy.
Yeah, the poor liver, it's overworked. And I'm glad that you mentioned the ama there. Can we talk a little bit about ama now next, about where, ama is formed, what is ama, and how does it affect our body? Thanks.
The simple English translation for ama is toxic substance formed inside our body due to improper digestion of the food, or also consumption of a large quantity of the food that your body doesn't need anymore. So that's where it goes into the concept of eating for your constitution. So eating for constitution means you want to consume certain kind of food which contains certain kind of nutrients and certain energy which will help to balance the dosha that you're born with. And when you constantly consume the food that has the similar quality to your constitution, then those energies excess, those nutrients is excess, so that body doesn't have any purpose. So anything which doesn't body use, it either need to be eliminated, or it's going to get stuck in the cells, around the cells, outside the cells, and that's something, a sticky, gluey substance that runs around in your bloodstreams and gets stagnant inside and outside the cell is called ama. Okay. So which can happen with a healthy, clean food too, when your agni is not working well, when your digestive system is not working well.
So then ama is circulating in the blood. And is it true then that it will find weak areas in the tissues and kind of lodge itself there?
Very correct. So it can have two components into it. So one, the physical deficiency or physical weakness that it can get lodged into, or it can be emotional related to.
Right.
So certain area of our body resonates with certain emotions. Basically, emotions are energy, and those energy has got a different wavelength, and they can get stagnant in different part of the body. For example, if you're suffering with some grief and sadness, your lung would be the weak area. If you're having lots of anger, resentment, your liver would be the area. If you have fear, then it would affect your bladder and kidneys. So having this emotion going in the background, because your ama can happen in your mind level too. Whenever we experience a trauma or a situation or a sensory input, if these things are not processed well, then it can also create ama. So both the ama can be created in your physical level and in the mental level too. And then these amas would have the energy related to certain part of the organs in certain system, and the physical ama would look for these weaknesses, and it gravitate to that part of the body, and they get lodged there and then manifest it into symptoms and then into diseases.
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned that for people to understand, we're focusing a lot on the digestive system, but it's not only digesting our food, it's digesting our experiences as well. And I covered that recently in another podcast about emotional imbalances, but it's so true. And I think we need to really highlight that, Dr. Sujatha, is that these emotions, if they're not digested, they're suppressed, they're not dealt with, that they can form their own ama. And like you said, they will go to the related organs and cause problems there.
Absolutely.
Okay, so thanks for that. And now let's talk a little bit about what happens when our digestive system is not working efficiently. I guess, first of all, if we talk about what could be the cause of our digestive system not working efficiently, which is, could be a lot, but in general, what could cause that?
When we say our digestive system is not working well, it's basically your organs, primarily we look into stomach, your small intestine, and the large intestine. So it could have a physical manifestation of disease itself. For example, if your stomach can have troubles to start with herniation of the hiatus, where the part of the stomach moves up to your diaphragm and have the gastric regurgitation. This could be one cause, that the deformity in the stomach as such, as a structural we're talking about. And then when it comes to the small intestines and, ulceration, overgrowth of unwanted bacteria in the upper part of your stomach, that's something called SIBO, where the amount of the bacteria, it's much more than the normal amount of your body needs, and they becomes against each other, and it creates constant fermentation of the food. So the food doesn't get digested. Instead, we form, like if we brew our own wine and beer in our intestines, and people constantly experience this constant bloating. Then their belly can swell up like a pregnant woman, like a 3-4 months, and discomfort and all those things. And when we go into our large intestine, the common trouble people suffer from celiac disease or Crohn's disease, where the ulceration of your wall of your large intestine takes place, or even to generalized condition. Another very common condition is leaky gut. Due to leaky gut is nothing but on the wall of our intestines, you have a small hairy process called villi. So they are like a capillary. So that's what it takes the nutrients. Because of some harsh drugs or increased gastric juice in your stomach, they can kind of eat off this villi, and they kind of becomes like a sleepy or like a collapsed. As a result, you could have a little micro holes in your intestine. So that means the food, rather getting digested and absorbed into the bloodstream, in a very micro particles, they can leak out of your gut wall and directly go into your abdominal cavity, and creating inflammation and autoimmune reactions and things like that. So this is the common thing. But simply, when people have a beginning state of digestive issues, or your digestive system not working well, they generally feel lack of hunger, or food. While the food is getting digested, they have lots of cramp and pain, or distension, bloating. And if we ignore this, then it's kind of leads into much more deeper issues, and creating disbalance of the gut bacteria, irritation, inflammation, and all the other things just I mentioned. So this is one, like our system is not working well, but we're giving the right food. But it can happen the other way around too.
Sure, absolutely.
Your system is working well, and then you don't feed yourself food on time. The very big concept of Ayurveda is eat when you're hungry. It's almost like eat when you're hungry means it's like the flame is on in your kitchen and when you want to cook. And when that flame is not on, and when we don't feel hungry, we feed ourselves. The body doesn't know what to do with the food. Right. So it stays as long as that it can maintain it. And meanwhile, the food can have a reaction with the bacteria, and or they don't get digested well, and they become stale inside, fermenting and giving you bad gas, bad wind, and then when the wind increases in the body, it increases vata, and large intestine is the space of your vata, and this increased vata need to come out. People have lots of gas and flatulence coming up. When that doesn't happen, or if you have your apana vayu blockage, it moves up, creating headache, stress, sleeplessness, and then when it gets absorbed into your tissues and goes into the bone and nervous system, creating anxiety, agitation, ache, pain, all these conditions.
Right, exactly. So it has such an effect when we ignore those symptoms. For some reason, I think a lot of people feel that, oh, this bloating, this excessive gas that I have, this stomach cramps, they're normal. I'll just take some medicine and cover over the symptoms. But the pathology is still happening underneath. There's still an issue. So if you have these digestive discomforts, it's really important to pay attention. This is a sign from your body that something is wrong. When you eat and digest, your digestive system should work efficiently, and there should be no severe bloating or excessive gas or burping or bloating or pain, right?
Absolutely. Look, here and there, time to time we might experience like, we say that, your eyes are bigger than your stomach. Sometimes we eat more food than our body can digest. But if this persists and continuously happen, then it's a sign that there's something wrong. Your machines of digestive system is not working well. So you better get it serviced and repaired.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I just want to go back to ask you a question about the leaky gut, because this is something we hear about all the time now. Could leaky gut also be caused by the lack of quality of that rasa, that 5 elemental juice that we were talking about a moment ago? The fact that you're not eating really good, nutritious food, so therefore the tissues being built in the first place, including the intestine lining, is not good quality, so therefore it could be perforated.
Yeah, absolutely, because the organ which manifests or creates the nutrition needed for the other tissue, that also need to be nourished. Right. And the quality of that digestive juice or the rasa dhatu or the firstborn tissue, or simply to say the plasma part of your blood which carries the nutrients, if that's not good enough to nurture your gut muscles, then in a reversely, your food itself can be creating that issue.
Right.
Along with it causing the trouble for the other tissues.
Right, exactly. Great. Thank you for clarifying that. And this is why, in our world where there's a lot of fast food, a lot of processed foods, that we're seeing so many of these problems showing up in the digestive system. And I think, Dr. Sujatha, it would be great to cover some general signs of digestive problems for each dosha. Now, while we're not just one single dosha, but I think it's good if you could just tell us the typical signs.
In case of pitta, generally, of all the 3 doshas, I would say pitta are the people, we generally call them hangry people. That means they are hungry and they get so irritable and grumpy and fiercey. So generally, pretty much they are people who need 3 meals a day, and they need to eat 3 proper meals, and because generally they're hungry. But if they ignore that as this anger part, which is the nature that indicates like too much of fire, too much of pitta secreted in the body in order to digest the food. And when they fail to give something for that fire to work on, the fire is going to eat their own intestinal mucosa. Yeah. So they do generally suffer from acidity, ulceration, and then inflammation in the pancreas, inflammation in the liver, too much of bile secretion. These are the symptoms they start to experience, or tenderness of their intestine, a very sharp pain, like a burning sensation. This is what pitta would experience when pitta goes out of balance and start to accumulate in their digestive system. Where for kapha, it would be much more like when kapha increases, they would lose appetite. They might not have hunger. They can go by a couple of days without sensing hunger at all. And in accumulation of mucus and congestion, and then can lead into imbalance of the gut flora, leading into excessive candida growth, yeast growth, more of like a heaviness. And they can usually, generally, kapha constitution don't have issue with the constipation unless they overeat or eat too late. Other than that, for them in a digestive system not working well, lots of mucus, distension, heaviness, and constipation could be a chance also, where it can happen very severely in vata, but kapha could happen more of a stagnation.
Right. And then you covered a lot about vata already, but also vata is a lot of excess movement in the body, excess wind.
cramping, flatulence, distension, and then headache. That's one of the common thing in Vata, digestive system not working well and getting chronic headaches.
Right. And this is where Vata needs to remember to eat, because they have a tendency to forget or to get too caught up in
distraction.
What they're doing, right? So important to remember. Okay, great. I think that was really good. Thank you so much for covering that. So now it would be good to cover, how do we make sure our digestive system is working great? And like you mentioned earlier, Dr. Sujatha, it's not just about what we eat, but how we eat.
Yeah. Very, very much so. So, the utmost importance is if it's a few different criteria that I could mention, then I would say everybody should eat when they're hungry. So hunger is a sign that your digestive fire is on. The hunger is a sign that all the enzymes are ready to be secreted and pouring into your intestinal tract. So hunger, and then eating for your constitution. Choose most of the food that suits your constitution. Generally recommended 80-20 rule. So that means 80% of the time choose the food that works for your constitution and keep the 20% which are not recommended for your constitution. And then eat 3/4 of your capacity. So, it's not to eat until you're full up to your throat. You want to stop where you still think, okay, another quarter would be full stomach, but I only eat 3/4 of my stomach. And that space given is needed for the Vata to gently move the food through our GI tract. Right. Because our digestive system works through peristalsis, which is nothing but contraction and relaxation of the walls of the digestive organs. And if it is so full, that means there's no space. And then when our intestines want to contract, it stretches so much, and that's where we experience discomfort and cramping and pain. So you want to leave that space, so eat only 3/4 of your capacity. And if we could do this is the 3 thing, and then your digestive system would work well, your elimination would work well, the food is digested in a way that it can be easily received by your liver, and it's going to process and transform into the form that your cells can identify it. So your key to your health is in your digestive system, in your GI tract. And if you take care of that, your liver would be happy and your cellular metabolism will be fantastic.
Right. And again, it's responsible for everything in our body. It's just of paramount importance. And also, I think it's worth mentioning here, Dr. Sujatha, about nowadays people are eating in their cars while they're working, watching, some emotional news on television. That's just as important as well, right? The emotions while we're eating. Because
when we are too excited or too sad, we should not be eating. Too excited is too much of Vata. When too much of Vata means too much of wind, wind destroys the fire. So when you have a strong wind blowing over the, flame, it destroys the flame, loses its focus. That means the fire is not focused, means it's not giving its attention to digest the food. It's distracted somewhere else. Same thing when you're feeling too happy and too sad. That's also extreme state of different doshas in our body. So mindful eating is very important. One, we connect to the food. Food is also enjoyment. When we're fully present through our senses while we eat, it nurtures the different senses, the color, the texture, the aroma, the taste, all those things, because satisfaction is one of the important things for us to feel. And if we're not satisfied because we're not putting attention, a couple of hours later, we don't even remember that if I have eaten. So that satisfaction is not there, and that's how people end up going for a piece of chocolate or cake or something quick satisfies, because your nervous system feels satisfaction through fat and sweet. And chocolate is a perfect combination for that. So mindfully eating is important because you want to have your senses indulge in that and feel satisfied. So that's one thing other than the eating when you're hungry or eat for your constitution 3/4 of your capacity. Mindfully eating, present with the food, enjoying the food thoroughly, and also enjoying the food with the people you're comfortable with, not in a crowded place, in noisy places, or while you're walking, or watching a TV. So these are the things your senses don't receive the pleasure that what it's supposed to be.
moving on then, I guess, to what we're eating, right? Like you already said, it's important to eat for your constitution type. But in Ayurveda, we'd also talk about eating locally, or saying like soul foods, seasonal, organic, unprocessed, and local. But eating locally and especially seasonally is very important, right?
Yeah, it is very important. Human body get affected by many things. Season is one of the aspect, and also the time of the day, the morning, midday, evening time. True. So it also has different effect on our body, where we are at, the day or the night. So these things affect us. So for us to be, your body to be have this compatibility and feel connected to the nature, because Ayurveda is about following the rhythm of the nature, wherever you are, and resonating with, because your body is a microcosm of the macrocosm that we live, and we need to maintain a harmony, want to resonate and vibrate together, that in your inner world with the outer world. So that's why it's very important that, you resonate with the season and find the balance between the season inside you and the season outside. And so you eat the food locally grown and seasonally grown, and no need to look for the superfood from all over the world.
Right.
Which food, the one thing I always tell to people is, it's not about what you can give it to your body. It's all about what your body can easily receive and digest and process. So anytime you hear in a magazine or your friend tells about some superfood from South America or India, you just want to know, okay, do I need it? Am I already receiving it? And what am I going to get out of this if something special other than the local food that you eat? So sometimes we might be overeating, and you might producing your own ama when the body can't process it, and it's too much for your system.
So true. I'm glad you mentioned that. And like you said, eating in tune with the circadian rhythm. So making sure you're having that main heavier meal at the middle of the day when your Agni is at its strongest, maybe cooking your meal the night before and having it ready to take with you to work the next day.
Yeah. That's definitely better than eating junk or quick fixing with something unhealthy or eating frozen food. Definitely that will be the best way. Plan your meals and put some attention. Now, many times people say that, I don't have time. What's the point in working so hard, making money, and we can't fulfill the basic need that our body needs in order to allow you to provide that energy and live your dream life and work hard and make more money.
There you go. It's so important. This should be top priority. So now that we've covered how we eat and then what we should be eating and when we should be eating, let's talk about how we make sure our digestive system is working efficiently, because just like anything else we have in our lives, like our cars, we need to take care of this body. And so what do you suggest as maintenance to make sure that our digestive system is working correctly?
As anything else, as you mentioned, your car, your house, everything we give a cleanse, we give a servicing. So for digestive system, regularly doing fasting would be one of the best way that you could reset your digestive system. Having said that, different constitutions should be focusing on that differently. The most needed fasting constitution is kapha. Primarily, they could do regularly, at least once a week. They could do fasting either just on liquids, just to only herbal teas or the hot water, or just water. Or if they kind of feel hungry, then they can go for vegetable broths and things like that. Pitta, they could do fasting maybe every week or once in 2 weeks. They should have something to eat, because Pitta's digestive system produces lots of gastric acid and stuff. It could create some acidity and stuff, so they should have something to take. So they could go on some juicing or some kind of mono fruit diet the whole day. Choosing to eat in a good seasons in summer's time, to go for a clean non-pesticide grapes, watermelon. These kind of fasting would do great for the Pitta constitution. Vata are the one they need to be careful about. So they should not go on extreme fasting process. If they fast, they should go fasting on some warm soups, and khichdi would be the best way for Vata to reset their system, and give some space and time, and with the easy digestible food. Or even they can do some like bone broths, and vegetable broths. These kind of things a Vata could do. So as long as they need to keep the stomach full with something warm and very light. Right. That would be one way to, generally, issues with your gut and you just want to give it a break and servicing. If you have an imbalance, and then you know that constantly you have a bloating, or you know that your diet has been not good, you're overeating, late eating, then regularly doing some cleanses would be good. So these weekly cleanses can be prolonged to a 3-4 days, and then taking some herbs like a triphala or even some castor oil if some people had a severe constipation for a very long time, or even doing enemas or colonics. These are the things helps to cleanse your digestive tract. Only when you're congested, keep in mind, colonics or enema, people get addicted to. They kind of think, okay, the more I wash the gut, the cleaner it is, or healthier it is. But if you have a Vata imbalance, and too much of this cleansing process without taking herbs or supplements or the diet to support and tonifying your digestive system can be dangerous too. But the triphala is a very gentle gut cleansing elixir that can be used by any constitution.
Right, exactly. And Ayurveda also recommends seasonal cleansing, right? That's a big one when we're going through the time of change between two different seasons.
Yeah, the junction of when they're like a last 2 weeks of your previous season and the beginning of the new season, very, very good to do some gentle cleanses. So, it doesn't need to be that you need to go to a place or something. If you have the facility and you can do it, you could do it, but you can do it by at home through following the diet needed for your body type, understanding your constitution. You can see a practitioner and follow the diet required to that. Home level, taking some herbs, some specific diet, self-abhyanga, and maybe doing some enema or taking herbs to clean your colon, and then slowly strengthening your gut back with very semi-solid food to the regular food. So it takes a process. You gently go in, you do a cleanse, and then you gently come back to your normal eating habits.
Right. And that's what makes Ayurveda cleanses different, is that there's a rejuvenation built in at the end of the cleanse, because the cleanse, of course, leaves you really depleted. You have this time afterwards to build back up the cells and tissues that we talked about earlier, and building up the ojas. I'm jumping in here because I want to let you know, if you're interested in doing a supported at-home cleanse, I provide those online. It's a holistic cleanse where you have a 90-minute online consult with me. We figure out your birth constitution, what current vikriti or imbalance you have, and tailor a whole food, all natural cleanse to you, along with yoga and meditation and pranayama. So if you're interested in doing that, I provide them privately all year round. I'll put the link in the show notes. I also have a group discounted cleanse starting this January. It's going to be January 24th. So you come into a group format, and that is discounted. So if you're interested in that, please be sure to check out the link in the show notes or visit my website, elementshealingandwellbeing.com. The group events are under the events tab, and the private ones are under services. And again, you can just find the link in the show notes. And we mentioned ojas earlier, and I'd like to finish up on that because we talked about how ojas was the end product of this selective process. When we eat something, it develops into the 5 elemental juice in the plasma or rasa, and then each tissue takes what it needs through the selective process, and the last part of that process ends up in ojas, right, which is what we want to preserve in order to preserve our life.
Yep. Ojas is simply translated as it's your immune system. That means if your cells are working well, it's healthy and repaired very well, and that means the essence of your each cellular metabolism results into ojas. It's a tiny drop of excellence coming from your each cells and tissues working to the best. It's like the finest quality little sap secreted from each tissues, and that accumulated works against your body's works as an immune system, defensive mechanism. And ojas is if you dosha was you talk, ojas is excellency of kapha. And kapha, in our body, the function of the kapha is stability, holding everything together, coordination, and body stability. So that means when your tissues and everything working well, your physical body is working well, then you get something called ojas. And that ojas is the essence of your tissues. And when it is well, your immune system is excellent. When the ojas is depleted, we fall prey to different infections and diseases and poor vitality and illnesses.
Right, exactly. Dr. Sujatha, I really appreciate your time today. And can you tell people where they can go to find out more about you and also your clinic, Amrita Siddhi in Ubud in Bali, please?
Mm-hmm. We have a center in heart of Ubud, right behind the beautiful monkey forest. It's a little center. We're not, we don't have a spa concept.
Yes.
We have a more medical approach, with a nice comfort and beautiful place. And, we do have a pool and everything so people can relax into. It's not like being in a hospital. Totally opposite of that. So the concept of being in Amrita Siddhi or healing your gut is empowering. And I do believe that once we resonate with the rhythm of our body and understand that and connect to that and connect to ourselves, health is very easy. It's only when we reject that part and don't give importance to that, and then the diseases start to manifest. So Amrita Siddhi is a clinic been in Bali for almost now 12 years. From health issues of just a simple digestive system to people with cancer, all come over there. And you just don't need to be sick. You want to curious. You want to maintain your health, because one of the biggest concept of Ayurveda is prevention. Mm-hmm. So you don't need to be sick to be taken care of. Right. So so this center offers all these things in a very one-on-one care. You've been there, so you know
I love it.
how it works.
Yes, it's like a cocoon. You go in there and everything's taken care of. You don't have to think of a thing.
And then the seasonal cleanse, that's something, people can approach you and something at home and take care of themselves on a regular basis. And without needing to be sick too.
Right, exactly. And I love that you point that out. Of course, Ayurveda is all about prevention, and this is why we want to educate you and empower you to take care of yourself. So you're noticing those simple digestive problems and listening to your body and taking care of it then before it goes through the stages of disease that we talked about before and manifests into a serious problem where you have to take time out of your life to deal with. So making sure you're doing that regular maintenance, and I highly recommend checking out Amrita Siddhi. I'll put the link in the show notes. And Dr. Sujatha, again, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time and sharing all this wisdom with us.
Thank you, Colette, for bringing more awareness into Ayurveda. That's great.
Yeah, we're all passionate about spreading it. We want to get more people in balance so everybody can thrive and connect to their true nature so that they can go out there in the world and make this world a better place to live in for everybody.
Wonderfully said.
Okay, Dr. Sujatha, we'll talk to you soon. Take good care of yourself and say hi to all at Amrita Siddhi for me.
Thank you. Yeah, I will. Bye-bye,
Okay,
Colette.
Bye. I hope you enjoyed that episode with Dr. Sujatha. She certainly shared lots of information with us there on the digestive system. Please check out the Amrita Siddhi link in the show notes, or you can visit their website, and the spelling is AMRTASIDDHI.com. That's amritasidhi.com. And also please check out my links in the show notes too. I put the link in there for my Digestive Reset Cleanse and my upcoming events in January, which includes a discounted group Digestive Reset Cleanse and a discounted Reset, Restore, Renew program. So please check out those links there, or visit my website, elementshealingandwellbeing.com, if you're interested in getting support on your Ayurvedic healing journey. As always, thank you so much for tuning in, and I wish you a very happy holiday season, and I look forward to connecting with you again in 2020. Until then, take good care of yourself, be well, and ciao for now.